exhibition. We are NeuroArts Productions. We are a multimodal arts presenter focusing on science-informed mental health advocacy through the arts, and you are here for the very first exhibition here in this space, in this new gallery space. So tonight we have a really special program for you, and we also have an incredible display of over 60 works by over 20 artists. Artists, might you raise your hands for us, please? Hey, artists! So they will be around after, so you can ask them some questions and check out the art. And tonight we have an incredibly special performance for you, featuring the launch of the interactive brain visualizer by NeuroArts in Future States. And we are here presenting the Creative Arts Orchestra, a semi-improvised jazz ensemble here at the University of Michigan. And so this whole exhibition tonight is about how each person's unique neurobiology and lived experience and unique perception informs how they engage with the world, which is an analogy for why our medical system should also be person-centered and actually truly value the person over profit. So we are here tonight with also our guest Kim here, who is the incredible advocate in mental health care here in Michigan, in Grand Rapids, and Ann Arbor. Also the mom of my best friend Luke, who we lost to the trial and error treatment system 2 years ago, and we're here tonight to honor him and to talk about how each person's unique lived experience should be informing the way that they receive person-centered treatment. So, Kim, if you want to say a couple of words before we kick off.
I did write some notes because whenever I talk about Luke, I just want to make sure that it's all there. So precision mental health means recognizing that no two people experience the same thing. And our beautiful Luke so desperately needed this. We lost Luke to mental illness. I have read, I have learned, I have decided to do what Luke did best, and that's advocate and learn and share, talk about this. Using Luke's words to advocate and bring awareness, it brings me peace. Luke uses his words, finding peace. He says that over and over in his journals. In fact, we brought a lot of his writing here today. And he so desperately wanted that. And he searched for us. He left us with beautiful words. We're blessed. He was a journaler his whole life, so we have so many things and so much of his writing. And also thinking about his passion for precision mental health care. His dream, you can see it in his journals, was to work with Sasha. They had dreams and aspirations of doing these things, and that really warms my heart, and I'm so proud of Sasha. Luke was a brilliant Harvard student. He was a staunch advocate for therapy and mental health and advocacy work. He had a passion for person-centered care. You can see that in his journals. He maintained strength during his years of trial and error, and boy, did he go through a lot. Luke was full of passion and love. He had a fight for advocacy that lights our path today. So finding peace brings us peace. Luke infuses himself into the lives through his words, through his work, through his friends. He taught everyone that he encountered to lead with love and kindness. So systems for profit, systems that take a one-size-fits-all. I keep thinking about, they didn't know Luke. Every human deserves this care to learn and feel this work. And I'm just in awe of everyone here today, the artists, the people that I've talked to, the musicians, and I just appreciate everyone here to advocate for mental health. So thank you, Sasha.
And before we begin, what we have here today is the interactive brain visualizer, which is the way that we are hoping to analogize how every single person has these very unique experiences, perceptions, and needs. And this is how I think our healthcare system should function in the same way. So Matt is going to come up here as the designer of the brain visualizer to tell us a little bit about how we're going to engage with it tonight and the instructions, and we'll begin.
Hi everyone, thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Matt Grossman with Future States, and I've had the pleasure of working with the brilliant Ramin Shaheen and with Sasha and Marcus and the Creative Arts Orchestra to bring you this interactive experience you can participate in the experience by scanning this QR code with your phone. It will open a web app on your phone. You can do this now. Once you do that, you should keep it open during the duration of the performance. You will be able to give inputs during the Creative Arts Orchestra performance that they will then respond to as they manifest in a visualization on the screen. If you happen to exit the web app during the performance, you will have to wait until standby mode here for the QR code to reappear to rejoin the app. So if it does close, just wait a little bit and you'll be able to rejoin the experience. Do not hit the button in the upper right corner of the app, it will close the app. And if you have any questions on how to operate the app, there's a question mark in the top left corner. You can hit that and it'll restart the tutorial for you. So with that, we're going to begin with the Creative Arts Orchestra, and at a certain point during the performance, the brain visualizer will activate and you can participate by giving inputs.
my incredible team and my wonderful panelists sitting here. So, yes, okay, we will begin in just a moment. Beautiful. So here with me right now is an absolutely incredible team of people who helped me bring this whole endeavor to life. So first we have Stacy Kirby here, our curatorial consultant. And current U of M Stamps Artist in Residence. We have Kim Valse, who spoke earlier, a wonderful advocate, mom of Luke, my I mean the developer of the interactive brain visualizer. Matt, the designer of the interactive brain visualizer. Marcus is the director of the Creative Arts Orchestra at U of M. And Dr. Carol Person, who is the director of neuropsychology at U of M and the director of the University of Michigan Aphasia program. Yes. So I have an incredible academy here with me to discuss what in the world we just saw and why it connects to person-centered treatment and why person-centered treatment is important. So essentially what you just did is you were engaging in real time with music responding back to you in this feedback loop, kind of showing the analogy of how real-time experiences should be adaptive and person-centered, as should our healthcare system. And so Kim here also, this exhibition is not only about honoring one's lived experience and unique neurobiology in the fight for person-centered treatment, but it is also about honoring loved ones who we have lost to the trial and error treatment system and everybody who has struggled in the system. So Kim is also here to share some of Luke's words himself about how he has gone through this experience. And yeah, go ahead, take it away.
Well, I was thinking how to describe it. I feel like I have the whole thing memorized. But then I feel like it's from my vantage point, so I thought, why not use Luke's words? So I'm going to read some of that. I think when I think of our journey with mental health, one thing that really stands out with Luke is so many people missed it. On the outside, you have this straight A student, president of everything, went to Harvard, straight A's there. And even during a major manic episode, no one noticed but us. I'm calling across the country and calling the police department everywhere, and even the ambulance drivers didn't want to take him because he was fine, but he wasn't fine. And so when I think about trial and error and listening to the music and how I felt tonight, I just want to share, I thought, why not share what Luke wrote? So this is a little bit, and my age, I've got to put my readers on. He says, my story. Sophomore year of high school, started experiencing severe anxiety, depressed thoughts, started Prozac, and it seemed to help at the time. Switched to Zoloft and Wellbutrin because I felt like Prozac stopped working. Zoloft made it worse. My grandmother died. She was my best friend. First intense depression. I didn't move for almost 2 days and felt no joy. This lasted for months and was a huge trigger for my depression. And mind you, I missed those things because this was on the inside. I was still on Wellbutrin freshman year, stopped Zoloft, stayed on Wellbutrin. I think you can kind of see this pattern. It's so back and forth. I got out of my depression, was happy. I went out a lot, was super productive in school and what I considered stable. Got straight A's, saw all my friends, and was even in a relationship. I had trouble focusing, calming down sometimes in the thought that this might be ADHD. My sister's ADHD. Sleep was good, and I lived, quote, normally. ADHD. Went to the psychiatrist at school and was going to start Strattera for ADHD symptoms. He started Treliptal. All the problems seemed to start here. The psychiatrist's appointment took so long that I had to go to the city doctors. This is when he's at Harvard. I had been feeling depressed in the winter, so I started Lexapro with my primary care doctor. He couldn't get into someone there to help him. Again, he is saying Treliptal drained me of all of my energy, it dulled my life, and it made me really depressed. Now it's Prozac. I stopped Treliptal, I'm sorry if I'm probably mispronouncing that, and went back to the school psychiatrist. I wanted to get out of my depression, so I started Prozac. At the end of school, where we were possibly going to start Wellbutrin again, and probably should have. I didn't really feel better for a while and started having racing thoughts, distractibility, increasing energy in the summer, and I kept telling everyone I felt crazy. My anxiety was at an all-time high and I had multiple panic attacks a day. I was prescribed Klonopin and it helped, but I wasn't prescribed more because it's addictive. I started Clonidine and this helped me with my focus and it helped me calm down. Then I didn't sleep for 7 days. I felt like a switch had flipped. I went to the bar, I made out with a ton of men. One day I didn't sleep for 2 nights. I hiked up an entire mountain. He hiked with friends, so everyone was missing us, which is, it just, it's so hard to understand, but I missed it as well. I felt like I was on top of the world. I ran multiple times a day. I drank tons of caffeine. I vaped. I thought I had a job that I didn't have. have. I tried to buy plane tickets. I thought I owned a Tesla. I don't remember much after that. The police came and took me to the hospital. I had lost a lot of weight. Risperdal, Risperdal pulled me out of mania quickly. I slept a lot at the hospital and I felt depressed and weak. I slowly recovered from my manic episode and started Lamictal. I didn't feel much had changed, and then it just goes on and on and on. So I think you can see that the turmoil that he was in, and so desperately speaking up and asking for help, but they just, people didn't understand. They looked at the outside. They saw what they wanted to see. Ultimately, Prozac, when they upped it to 20 milligrams, is what put Luke in a manic episode. I've since learned that that's a big no-no if you suspect someone has bipolar. And ultimately, that's what did it, which, changed our lives. So I just share that with you to show the back and forth that people go through. And it's not always people that aren't advocating. I mean, he was seeing a therapist, he saw multiple doctors. We had him tested for everything you can think of. His IQ was high, we already knew that. He didn't even come up, I think, just mild depression, even from all those batteries of tests. But he had a severe mental illness. And I think that, person-centered care, if we, just in the brain scans and some of the things that I've learned, we might have been able to help Luke. And so that back and forth, and you can see it in here, and it goes on and on. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And I can feel it in the music tonight, too. So,
Thank you, Karen. Thank you. And it really goes to show, when we talk about the need for person-centered treatment, we mean, moving from this constant trial and error of this guess and check work of, let's try this one and then up that dose and try another one. It needs to be precise, it needs to be person-centered, it has to be actually tailored to the individual and not just a one-size-fits-all metric. And so in that way, we're hoping to, and precision medicine is something that we can achieve by going into so many different directions, so many different endeavors. We have, research, we have policy endeavors, education, and then science communication and advocacy. And then our focus at NeuroArts is, how do we advocate through the arts? And, because the arts are such a tangible form of engagement, we're able to really connect with people in ways that oftentimes just alone words can't. And so with that, I would love to now invite Stacy to speak a little bit about, interactivity in design and your experience in, art as a medium for advocacy and civic engagement.
Thanks. I just want to honor you sharing Luke's story. I have friends in my circles that are bipolar, that experience bipolar, and it is very different.
Yes.
Every journey is so different, and I think this whole idea of person-centered medicine is so similar to this idea of, and connected to person-centered artwork. And I feel like interactivity is person-centered artwork in that way. I mean, I was experiencing that tonight, right? This connection, and I do interactive artwork that has an advocacy component, and tonight that's what we're doing here too. We're pairing a really dynamic experience with technology, with art surrounding us that's engaging our senses on so many different levels, and with this connected with this this idea of mental health and the struggle that so many of us deal with. It's like 1 in 5 of us really deal with mental health issues. That's a lot of us in this room, right? And so I think art is a way for us to engage with our nervous systems that open up a deeper dialogue. And then we can pair that with ways of reaching out to one another, ways of reaching out to our legislators to change policy, whatever those avenues are. But it really, it's a call to action that happens with our nervous systems, with art. And I think it's so important. It really just does get to the heart of things. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you, Stacy. Thank you. And then to that point, too, we have Marcus, who is our leader in improvisation, and I would love to then also on the musical side of things, how do you see improvisation as a form of connection? We've talked about visual art, we've talked about music, but specifically improvisation, which is what we were doing up here. How can that also be an avenue of really being able to engage with people on this kind of deeper level and move individuals towards advocacy?
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to say thank you for having me be a part of this and be able to share music with you all. It's always a true honor and a blessing to be able to share music with anyone. So, and please excuse me the weather's got my allergies on 10 right now, so you're gonna see me. It's not a cold, I'm just got a lot going on. Music and improvisation, they are essential to bringing cultures together, bringing people together. When I think about my own upbringing, and I think about how I connect with people, and I think how we all connect with people. When you hear a song that you love, and somebody else is there and they love that song too, there's an immediate bond right then and there. When you go to a concert, there's thousands of people, and you're seeing this artist perform. There's a true bond, there's a connection there that you don't need to talk to other people about politics, you don't need to talk about religion, you don't need to talk about any of those things. The music is one of the last, and the arts, it really is one of the last things that we have that can really bring people together, and we can start having these sort of conversations. So I see music and art as a really, really, really important aspect of how we're going to move forward as people. You know, I think one of the largest issues, and I think this is maybe what Luke was experiencing as well, there's a certain level of isolation that our culture produces at this moment. And that's really, to me, one of the scariest things, especially being an educator and seeing my students as they come to their own. There is a heavy isolation that I see. And I see music as a way to help bring people together, have a feeling of belonging, have a shared sense of community, you know, which is just something that we're all, I think, very hungry for. So that, to me, is how music can really play a role in sort of advocating for mental health and for just humanity, like mental health, physical health, whatever you want to call it, like just being a human being. You know, the arts is one of the arts and music is kind of one of the few last things that we have that can really, that we can all at least come to and talk to and bring us together, you know, so it's important to me.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Marcus. And you know, with that idea, that's something that we're really hoping to implicate in the development and design of the brain visualizer, of also, you know, thinking about how one person experiences something so uniquely and no two people see the same thing in the same way, which is why we need, you know, we have unique needs in treatment. But it's also a collective experience. You know, we're thinking about how you saw all of these little brain worms coming together and crossing pathways and interacting with one another in this very shared, interconnected experience. And so there's these two, you know, facets to this individualism and also that collective experience that is, you know, our interactions, our environment shapes the way that we perceive the world and therefore our unique needs. And so I would love to then have Matt and Ramin talk about how we really brought that idea into the process of developing and designing the brain visualizer, from especially a human-centered design framework, because I know that that's a huge specialization of you guys. So.
Yeah, so we started with the basic idea of the feedback loop, and also with the idea of how to keep the technology out of the way of the experience that was going to happen. We wanted the technology to be a vector for people to share their experience and interact with the performers, but we didn't want it to detract from the experience. So we jumped in and we started thinking about how we could make a simple interface that would evoke the idea of emotion and also how we could create a visualization that would evoke the idea of the collective shared experience. So we decided to use the wheel of emotion as it appears in therapy. So it's used for people to help define their emotions when they lack words for those emotions. And we superimposed that with a color wheel. And then you may have noticed this hexagonal pattern that appears in the interface, in the brain, in the background. And we decided on that because it actually evokes the molecular diagram. So we were thinking about serotonin and dopamine and all of these things that are contributing to the emotions that we're feeling. So we decided that we also wanted the experience to create a unique piece of art every time an audience interacted with performers. So this maze here is actually procedurally generated from a unique seed. So this maze is different from any other maze that's going to happen at any other performance that happens with the brain visualizer. This recorded sequence of inputs is the way it unfolded with the music is all unique. So that's something that you co-created with the Creative Arts Orchestra tonight, and we've recorded that. So that's something that we can share with you all after the performance. So a lot of thought went into how these emotions would behave after they went in, and so we were talking about how long does an emotion last? How fast does an emotion move? Where does it go? What happens when it collides with another emotion? So you may have noticed the little interactions occurring every time emotions cross paths. And very quickly we moved beyond what was possible in the amount of time that we had. We had a lot of big ideas for what could possibly happen with all these emotions in the brain. And someday we would like to do all of them. And one cool thing about this experience and the way Ramin built it is that the output, this visualization, is very flexible. So we can have it output to physical or mechanical devices. The input could be an app. It could also be a button. It could be a wheel that you crank. It could be anything. And then the art, it could be dance. It could be spoken word. It could be anything. So this feedback loop has variables that can change, and we can adjust those, and then we can play with, what we're trying to communicate with the experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So essentially tonight you were all part of the very first iteration of the brain visualizer ever to exist. And so it has a life that is going to continue, and we're so excited about it. And so yes, we will be sending, if you have your email with us registered in whatever fashion, we will be sending you your unique compositional input from tonight. So essentially you are a part of the compositional process. So that is super exciting. Ramin, anything to add about the development of the process?
I think it's been really fun developing it from the get-go, just because it's been entirely focused on trying to make that whole experience centered around health and mental health and advocating for precision medicine. And the first thing I think about when I look about the scale of this brain, for example, which is much bigger than any other test scale, which I've been testing with. And it's very different testing with it on your own, because you're submitting inputs on your own as fast as you can to see how things interact. But seeing it in this scale with as many people as they were submitting is very interesting, because this kind of brain would never have been activated if it were just one person. One person submitting inputs at the interval that you guys were setting inputs at would never have gotten to the experience and level of interactivity and visual interest that you would have gotten, that we have gotten today, if it weren't for everyone continuously contributing inputs. So I think that's a really beautiful aspect of this, because it's just such a unique way to experience something in such a collaborative format. So I really love that we designed it from that point on, and that every one of you got to experience that with us.
Yeah, thank you, Ramin. And with the future of the brain visualizer and how we want to continue to be able to use it in context of NeuroArts Productions, are to enhance performance experiences, but also potentially to enhance therapeutic experiences. We really see this potentially being able to be used as a form of a new communication device for folks, for example, for communication disorders. Also being able to just continuing to use it not only as a performance enhancement standpoint, but also in potential clinical and therapeutic practices. And so, Dr. Persad, I would love for you to also be able to speak back to person-centered medicine and generally, what it means, why it's important in your experience in neuropsychology and both working with individuals with aphasia. What would you have to tell us about person-centered treatment in the United States and where we are and why it's important?
That's a big question.
It's a big question.
It's a very big question. This is very interesting in terms of what we did, and not just what you were saying, Kim, how you were thinking about Luke and how all the different emotions and ups and downs. just watching that and thinking about how everybody responded differently, all the different colors to the same, the same thing that's going on. We all have very different perceptions. Extremely important. And to be able to use something like this, we're developing lots of different tools right now in medicine that is trying to help us understand people individually, but there's a lot we're missing, especially when it's mental health. And to be able to come up with tools like this that potentially can allow people to express themselves when they can't with words. Even those with or without the communication disorders, but how do you, in a moment when you're experiencing anxiety or anger or something, sometimes you just can't really explain what's going on. And having different ways of doing that therefore if you can have it visualized, that maybe I can understand better and it can help you through it. Especially for people, I do work with people with aphasia, which is a loss of language, typically after some sort of brain insult, stroke, head injury, something like that. And everything about that person is still there, but they just can't get the words out, they can't get the language out. So to be able to use something like this to communicate what's happening, how they're feeling, especially with all the mental health challenges that they're experiencing, is really important to think about.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. And with that, we would also love to open up the floor for some questions. We have a few minutes to take any experiences that you might have had during the Brain Visualizer. We would just love to hear your thoughts, your feedback, but also just questions about all things person-centered treatment, why it's important, Brain Visualizer and its future. We'd love to hear. So, any questions? First one over here.
So thank you all for putting this together and for expressing so much within such a beautiful medium as art. I find the intersection of art and mental health really interesting because language can only express so much of what we're going through, and art isn't bound by that as much. The Brain Visualizer I found really fascinating because I also have bipolar disorder, and having been in support groups, we often try to put language to our emotions and what we're feeling. That's a really difficult thing to do. And what I found really interesting about this is that the abstraction of colors associated with emotion really allowed me to feel more free when I'm expressing my emotions. So this question here is, how do you see kind of maybe the therapeutic applications of either music and mental health or Brain Visualizer and mental health? I think it can be really powerful, so if someone can speak to that, then.
This might be a Dr. Persa question, if you will. Yeah.
Or anyone else can really chime in. I think that there is music therapy, art therapy, therapists out there but it's still a very small piece of what we do. And I think part of it is, honestly, in the medical field, we are very much, really sort of, you guys can probably talk about this, we are very much bound in terms of what we think it should look like, right? It has to be very scientific, they're going to talk about medicine, we're doing this, and people have a really hard time letting in music, the art, other ways of thinking. We're treating a whole person, we're not treating just a symptom, especially with mental health, it's even more important. So to try and get people to come out of that box, this is what medicine should be versus what it could be, is really important.
Absolutely. And when we talk about precision medicine and person-centered treatment, what we mean is whole person holistic care, which means not only medication but also therapy and also creative arts therapies like music therapy. There's actually this set of pieces that is all talking about how music can actually affect mental health and allow somebody to experience meditative states and different things. And this is by Lila Hudgens over here. And NeuroArts as a field is actually exploding everywhere. And we're starting to research more. How can precision therapeutics actually be implicated in music? Like what specific tones can trigger different brain areas to be able to actually be used in therapeutic treatment? So that's all really exciting, and I think part of the conversation when we talk about really taking one's unique needs into account for treatment. So yeah, any questions? Any other questions? In the back right there.
I want to start with praise for having these conversations because I know that's the point of this whole event. And then as background, I work in shared decision making, clinical shared decision making for patients and rehabilitation. So I'm more focused on the clinical rehabilitation of patients with a disordered state of consciousness who can't advocate for themselves. But I'm curious standard process assessment model for that. Is there something similar to that for the psychiatry aspect of person-centered care in mental health? Is there like a model to follow? Is there like research on that kind of model?
I don't think there's, to be honest, I don't think there is a good model. We see it all the time in the hospitals. If there is anything that's psychiatric, it's, I don't want to deal with it, let's send them over here, let's send them over here. People are scared about it. They don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to respond, so they'd rather just sort of move it over to the side. I think that there are some models you can think about probably in psychiatric institutions, but it's really, those are more the serious patients that we're talking about and really focused a lot on medications and things. But to go beyond that, there really isn't a lot of good structure. It's hard because we can't get insurance to pay for it. It's amazing, for example, just something coming back to the aphasia world. I don't know how many people who've had a stroke will tell me that the focus was, can you walk, can you toilet, great, out the door you are. No one is talking about the aphasia, no one is talking about the cognitive issues, no one is talking about the mental health issues. You're out the door. We just don't have a good way, we don't have the resources, insurance companies won't cover these things. Insurance companies, this is a very good example. I'm a neuropsychologist, so I see people who come to me who have memory problems, attention problems, cognitive things, all sorts of things. And it doesn't matter what the reason is, but they're struggling. If I saw somebody and did an assessment for dementia, for example, and I did the exact same thing for someone who had bipolar disorder, insurance companies will pay me less for the bipolar disorder than they will for the dementia. Why? They're telling you that it's not as valued. So it's just so many things that the fundamentals of our healthcare system is really struggling.
Yeah. Absolutely. And one of our pieces actually in the back, it's called The Bridge to Better Care, and it was created by members of the Aphasia Community Friendship Center. So that's a center that we run every other Friday in Ann Arbor, and this is, again, one of these mechanisms that we hope to provide holistic community support for individuals. And so this bridge, we have on one side of these sticks, you see like things that have been supportive in one's journey with aphasia, and then on the other side, things that have been difficult, things that have been barriers in their journey, accessing treatment, navigating the healthcare system. And several of these sticks, individuals are writing down, it is insurance, it is lack of the ability to even communicate with providers about what they need. And so there's so many barriers within these larger structural systems that are, again, not person-centered, so not actually giving people the informational support they need to be able to have that access to person-centered treatment in the first place. So, yeah. Any other questions? Right over here.
I just have a comment. When I was practicing as a physician, I was always fighting the prototype of following pathways and paradigms that are fixed up for somewhat general categories of patient care. But just like you say, that every patient is different. The way it applies in neuroscience, it applies in regular general patient care also. And also I just wanted to make a comment about the beautiful interactive thing you created for this. Like, it's part of the also color therapy, that artists practice. So to see it all put together was a huge revelation and a very exciting experience. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So with that, we're going to be wrapping up our panel discussion. I just have several thank yous. First, thank you to these incredible panelists, my team over here. I am so grateful. To the University of Michigan Michigan Arts Initiative and Don Hicks, who have supported our ability to use the space and to bring all of this to life. So I'm so grateful. Not would be possible without them. So thank you. My incredible team of volunteers over here and all of the amazing artists who have lit up this space with just beautiful color. And you walk around the path to precision, if you will, and you can really see how each one of these artists is bringing in their unique lived experience to share their story and to talk about why this is so important. And so thank you, artists. Thank you, everyone who's here as an artist. Please talk to them after. Artists, raise your hand. Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Yes. A few notes that the Path to Precision exhibition will be open through April 14th, so every Saturday and Sunday I will be here, and from 12 to 6 on Saturdays, 12 to 4 on Sundays, for you to come back and take a closer look at the art if you would like. We will also be having another performance series where next Friday, King Sophia and I, who is the cellist over here, we're activating the space with 3 movements for migraine, a composition sonifying the experience of chronic migraine. And on March 28th, we have Healing Bells led by Pamela Rooney-Feenstra, who is also in the back over here. She'll be presenting an incredible program telling the stories of trauma survivors through music and dance. And then I have my lecture recital, and, not here, but it's at the First Presbyterian Church, and that will be April 12th at 7 o'clock. Right. So all of that information is also on our website, neuroartsproud.org. Yes, I would love to see you back here. As we wrap up, if folks could help us out a little bit and strike a chair and help bring it to that kind of back door area, that would be amazing. And we will be bringing out some pieces as well. Stick around here. I'm going to be here until 10, so you can come hang out and hang out. And we'll be bringing in Luke's journals, who will be having a table right down in the center where you can see some of his words and some of his experiences, as well as some other pieces and sculptures. So thank you so much. Please stick around and hang out and enjoy the exhibition.